What is up guys, my name is Manik Madan. I'm going through my USMLE journey and right now I'm on the verge of booking my clinical rotations in the United States. So I thought it'd be a good time to discuss all about clinical rotations and United States clinical experience with you. So because it is a very important thing in the USMLE process if you want to match. It is not absolutely required, but it is considered pretty good, and with step 1 going pass fail, this United States clinical experience becomes so much more important right now. So in this video, we're going to address why is USCE so important, what are the types of United States clinical experience, and that is what are the types of clinical rotations. The third thing we're going to talk about is how to get USCE that is very specific for you and that is good for you. And the fourth thing we're going to address is the total price of getting clinical rotations in the United States. First, let's talk about why are clinical rotations in the United States so much important in the USMLE process. The first reason that they are so important is because these things generate something called as an LOR, that is letter of recommendation. The thing is, in the United States, if they want to know that you have experience with the United States system, because it is so very different from developing countries like India. In the United States, we have electronic medical records, we have so many different kinds of things that are going on. They have different kinds of prescription systems with them that we don't have in India, and it is super important that you kind of have an experience of them and see how clinical care is given in the United States. This is very important to them because they want experienced people. They don't want unexperienced people. They don't want a person who's very untrained. They want a trained person who knows at least how to perform in a clinical setting. So that is very important. So what happens is, when you do a clinical rotation with a doctor, in the end, it is probable that he'll give you a LOR if you ask for it. That is a letter of recommendation. It is just this document recommending you for residency in the United States. And the thing is, it should be like, it's better if it's from a United States doctor, because then because that indicates that you have performed in a US clinical setting. Now the thing is, at least you should have 3 LORs. What that means is, for having 3 LORs, you have to do 3 clinical rotations, but that is not always necessary because there are people who generate multiple LORs in the same rotation. So that is possible, but however, it is better you at least do 3 clinical rotations, because having at least 3 LORs from the United States is important. Why LORs are so important is because it signals, like when you apply for the match and when they read your LOR, it signals that you know how things work in the United States and you are a trained person who knows how everything works, and that is very important to them. They don't want an untrained person. And LOR also puts light on your communication skills and how you are generally as a person. Are you dedicated to the specialty, and are you interested in that specialty? And that's what the people who are gonna accept you in residency want to read about, that do you really like that specific residency. So generally, if you want, let's say, a specific branch, you need an LOR from a doctor who is in that specific branch. That is the best kind of LOR, and that has the most high value, right? Because that says that you like that branch and you want to go into that branch. However, some people also get LORs from different specialty. Let's say they're applying for psychiatry, they get LORs in medicine also. However, this is not recommended because this signals to the person you're gonna interview that you are really not interested in that residency. So I would recommend choosing a residency from the start, that which residency you want to match in, and doing clinical rotations there so you can generate LORs from professors in that specialty. The second reason why this is so important is because it shows dedication. When you get clinical rotations in the United States, you get a bit uncomfortable. You have to find a place to live. You have to make some adjustments. But what that signals to the person when you're applying for the match is that you're really interested in doing residency in the United States. And because of that, you're at least struggled, and that's something they really appreciate, because a lot of these people who interview you also did the same, and that's considered a good thing. So now that now the next part is even more interesting and important. So there are basically 6 types of clinical rotations. The first type of clinical rotation that a lot of people don't know about is actually something called as a sub-internship. So sub-internships are these high-level electives. So we'll talk about electives also, but sub-internships are these high-level electives in which you have 4 patients under you and you perform as an intern like any other United States medical students in their intern year, and so you're 100% responsible for the care of these 4 patients and they're under you, and so it's this high level of responsibility. But the LOR then this generates is a very, very good LOR, because that shows you are a responsible person and you were able to take care of 4 patients a lot. And getting sub internships is pretty hard, but there are ways to get it, and we'll talk about how to get it later. But consider like sub internships as number 1 in your priority list when you are applying for USCE or clinical rotations. The second kind of clinical rotations are something called as electives. Electives are again these hands-on experience where you get to interact with the patient, you get to take history, you get to do the physical exam, you get to do tests, you sometimes get to even treat the patient, and you get to perform in the whole clinical setting as a team with the rest of the physicians in the hospital that you are. And so it's this really, really great experience where you are involved like totally in patient care. And that's great. When those doctors see you performing so good, like in your hospital, they're like going to write you a great LOR because they have seen you in particular situations, like taking care of the patient. And because of that, there's something to write in the LOR. And because of that, it is going to be very specific to you and not be general. A lot of electives require a USMLE Step 1 score. So try to give your Step 1 before you apply for electives, because these electives are pretty cheaper. And however, there are electives that do not require Step 1 and they just require TOEFL, but these are a lot of the times expensive. So like try to give your Step 1 before applying for the electives. But keep in mind that electives are only available for undergraduates. They are not available for graduates. So the third kind of rotation, that is an observership, is available for graduates. But keep in mind, observerships are not hands-on, they are hands-off. What that means is you're not allowed to take history from the patient, you're not allowed to talk to the patient, you're not allowed to do any physical examination of the patient, you're not allowed to participate in even patient care or give treatment to the patient. Neither can you access any of the hospital's EMR, that is electronic medical records, and neither can you perform as part of a team. So keep in mind that doesn't give a lot of information to the person who's going to write you an LOR, and because of that, the LOR this clinical rotation generates is not very good. It is very general, and since you never really took part in patient care, all you did was shadow the doctor and did nothing much, you just like went along with him. This doesn't really, it's not really considered a really great clinical rotation. However, there is one purpose this clinical rotation can fulfill, and that is getting familiar with the staff of a particular hospital. So what happens a lot of the times is people who do observerships in certain places, they tend to match in those places. The reason that is the case is because when you go and interact with the team there, those people kind of get to know you, and because they get to know you, now when you participate in the match, a lot of the times they vouch for you because they are like, hey, we know this person, we have talked to this person, he's actually a nice person, so why not take him over other candidates? It is one pro for observerships. However, again, the LOR isn't that nice, so you might end up matching in the place you did the observership in, but keep in mind that it is not good for the overall match. That is the other hospitals that are going to be interviewing you, or because they might not even give you an interview because you just have an observership. The fourth kind of clinical rotation we're going to talk about that is available for graduates is something called as an externship. So externship is like an elective for people who are graduates. However, keep in mind that these are super rare, super hard to get, but they are certainly there, and you can find them if you really want to. Again, these are hands-on, you're allowed to take part in patient care, so the LOR this generates is again very great, and try to find them if you're a graduate. It is definitely possible. The fifth kind of clinical rotations that you need to know about is something called as a research elective. A research elective is when you work for a research department of a certain medical school in the United States, and you help them with research, you learn a lot of stuff from that. However, this elective itself is very long. A lot of the times it can extend from sometimes 6 months to 12 months, and I know people who have done a research elective for even 2 years to 3 years. So these can be very, very long. However, this builds up your CV, and a lot of people who don't end up matching, they end up doing a research research elective because it's very great for your CV, so you can give thought to it. However, if I had to compare a clinical rotation itself with a research elective, I would always go with a clinical rotation because these are more highly valued. And the thing is, research electives sometimes get like super expensive because a lot of the times it's not paid, and because of that you have to spend a lot. Cost of living in the United States is super expensive. Getting an ARB is gonna at least cost $700, and food will be $300 for 1 month, and that's like $1,000 for 1 month. So you can see how this can become so expensive because these are so long, like 6 to 12 months. So that's $6,000 to $12,000 just for staying there. However, that's one part about this. But with a lot of people, what happens is it starts without pay for about 3 to 4 months, and after those 4 months these people start getting paid because the programs are like, hey, why not pay them a bit because they are working for us. So that happens a lot of the times. The sixth kind of elective that you need to absolutely know about is something called as a tele-rotation. A tele-rotation is something you can just do in your country, like sitting at home or any other place. What happens here is there's a person in that hospital who is taking you through cases, discussing cases with you, kind of showing you the US system. But however, this isn't as great as a clinical rotation where you're exposed more, you can see with your own eyes what's happening. Again, the LOR this generates is not very good because again it's a tele-rotation and it does not show any dedication because you really did not go there, you were just like in your home going through these things. However, if you really can't go to the United States for some reason, definitely try to get at least tele-rotations because again this signals at least you showed a little bit interest, and that's good. And if I had to make a choice between tele-rotations and the rest of the rotations, I would go with the rest of the rotations with sub-internships, electives and externships at the top, and then go with an observership or a research elective, and this in the end. So that's how I will structure all of the clinical rotations. Like there are a few things you should know about the LOR. So like what is the best kind of LOR is something you should know about. The best kind of LOR is, number one, it should be from a US medical physician if possible because they prefer that more because this person is from a US medical system. And understand that the more prominent the faculty writing it to you, the better the quality of the LOR. So if we compare an attending with somebody, let's say that is the chair, the LOR from the chair would have more value than the LOR from the attending. There you can also get LORs from residents, but again the chair, attending and then residents. So try to talk to the chair whenever possible, and if possible try to get the LOR from him because that's the best kind of LOR. The second thing you should know about the LOR is what should be the content of the LOR. So the content of the LOR should say, number one, that you as a medical student are better than or comparable to the United States medical students in training. Second is you can adapt to the US medical system. The third thing that should say is that you have sensitivity to different types of culture, to their culture. The fourth thing it should say is you have excellent communication skills, and this is what the program directors are looking for in the LOR. So if you can meet all of those four criteria and kind of show some quality and kind of show that in the moments you are with them that you can fulfill all of those four criteria, that the LOR they're going to write to you is going to be much better. So those are the rules for the LOR. There are three ways to apply for clinical rotations. The first way to apply for clinical rotations is knowing what places offer clinical rotations and emailing the people concerned. Now I'll attach a list that I think like has everything you need, and that's by Dr. Sebas. Shout out to him, and I'll attach it down, and you can see these programs. Just go to their website, like you can open the website, and he mentions all the programs that offer rotations to IMGs, like electives to IMGs, and you can open it up, then go to the website and email the concerned people, and that helps a lot. The other way to go about this is using tools like Residency Explorer or things like Frida. Okay, I'll show you, like my favorite is Residency Explorer, which is a pretty new tool. So now I'm going to show you my favorite way to hunt for electives, and like because we want to find places that are IMG friendly and that might take up us in the match. So now I'll show you Residency Explorer. So now you can see this thing called residencyexplorer.org. This is one of my favorite sites. I'll mention this like in the description of this video, so you guys can have a look at it. Now you have to create an account. I already have an account with them, and you have to just log into the account. Okay, so I'll be logging into the account. Let me just log into it. So now you can see we have logged into Residency Explorer, and the specialty we'll be exploring here will be, let's say, internal medicine, because most people want internal medicine. So we'll choose something called the categorical track, not the preliminary one. You can take that up too. So now let's look at the internal medicine thing. So by the way, first I would encourage you guys to fill the profile, and like you have to kind of fill this whole thing, and make sure you fill this thing that you are a non-US citizen IMG. If you're a non-US citizen, international medical graduate, if you're a US IMG, fill that, like, or you can fill any of this. Now how many work experiences and all, like you can fill that all, and please kind of try to put your USMLE scores. My USMLE score is a 260, so I don't have my step 2 CK score, so I'll write I don't have any work experiences. Let's say I don't have any voluntary experiences. I don't have any. I think I have one peer reviewed publication. So let's save and continue, and let's see how this works out. So now that I have saved my profile here, what we gotta do now, so now you can see we are looking at results for internal medicine, the categorical track. This will kind of tell us which is a good medical school for us. So you can see that this kind of can you see this? This is so magical. Look, percentage of matched applicants who were non-US IMGs. So this gives me like it kind of filters and sorts by the highest percentage of non-US IMGs, and that's golden, right? So let's look at St. Peter's University Hospitals, Rutgers, like this whole program. Oh my god, that's such a big name. And look how good, like, so you can see the results being generated. What you need to look out for is this place participating in ERAS, like, and the NRMP match. Now you can see that you need to make sure that it participates in ERAS and the NRMP match, because if it doesn't participate in the ERAS and the NRMP match, the problem is that they won't be able to take you up in the match because they don't participate in the match. So it's better if you take a rotation in a place that offers you a position in the match, right? And you can see the application trends of the year, and you can see like the average number of work experiences you can see is 5 to 6. The average volunteer experiences I think is about 1 to 3, and like you can see the research experiences are about 1 to 2, and peer reviewed publications are about 1 to 2. And you can see that my score falls within the range of match applicants of this program, and it's in the upper 25% of applicants. Most people are in this range, is 226 to 25, so I have a pretty high chance of matching here. Now I don't have a USMLE Step 2 CK score, but with time I'll have it. And you can see that like what are the requirements for in the match, but it's such a good way to look out for like what places are good for IMGs and taking part in it. And you can see the non-US IMG rate is 19%, which is considered pretty good. The second way to look out for clinical rotations is through personal contacts. So like a lot of the times, a lot of programs do not mention it in on their website that they have programs, but if you know somebody there, if you know a resident there, a lot of the times these positions can be created, and a lot of the times, like if you know attendings, you can get observerships from these programs that are not generally available to the rest of the general public. So that's a good way to go about this. So the more you know people there, the better it is for you. The third way to go about it is through websites, but these are not the best way because these get a bit more expensive compared to the first two routes. And like, however, if you do not have any choice, you don't know anybody in the United States, or let's say you can't find programs, maybe because you're a graduate, or just in general because of COVID, maybe you can't find people, you can't find rotations, these websites can provide you rotations. My favorite one is Brooklyn USCE. I will include the link down there. The second favorite one that I have is AMO Opportunities. I think these are the best ones out there, and the rest I don't think so are as good as these. So have a look at them, and that's how you go about that. So now that you know that how to like find out places that offer IMG rotations, you can now apply here, and please try to apply only those places that give you as an IMG a spot, otherwise don't. Now let's talk about the price of clinical rotations. So clinical rotations can go from $0 to $5,000 in tuition fee. Well, Manik, what place offers a clinical rotation for $0? The answer is in National Institute of Health. It's a lot of the times free, but it's very hard to get a clinical elective there. You can try your luck, but chances are a lot of the times you don't get it. So there are other places that offer clinical rotation for tuition fee. Now this can even range to $5,000. That's offered in Harvard. Harvard charges $5,000, and there are a lot of other places that charge. I think Mount Sinai, which charges a lot for clinical rotations. So I think the electives with the best value are actually Mayo Clinic, which offers electives for $350. That's the whole fee. You don't have to pay one time extra. But the best one I think is Cleveland Clinic, which is $400, and they even provide you a housing for that money, and that's crazy, right? That's crazy value. So if you really want to do electives, these two places are my favorite. If you get them, amazing. Do the clinical rotations from here. However, remember that both of them require a USMLE Step 1 score. Another important thing you need to keep in mind for electives is a lot of them require a USMLE Step 1 score. However, there are a few electives that do not require USMLE Step 1 score, and these only require something like TOEFL. So now that you have found an elective, like how much does it cost to live in the United States? So the lowest price of an Airbnb home that you're going to find in the United States is going to be about $700 to $750. And since it's going to be for 3 months that you're going to be doing electives, so that's going to be about $2,250. And not only that, you're going to spend on food, and keep in mind it takes about $200 to $300 to like survive on food, and that's what most people pay. So that's about, let's say, $900 for food if you're spending like good amount on food, and that becomes about $3,150. So that is, I think, a pretty good way to go about it. So $3,150 for staying in the United States plus the cost of food, and now add the price of electives. So you can see that can go from, I think, $5,000 to $6,000, and this is where everything gets a bit more expensive. However, if you do USCE, it saves you a lot of the money, because chances are you're going to match, because you did, like if you have good scores, you have USCE, and that saves you money. Because imagine if you didn't match, how much would you spend the next year, right? So it is preferable that you get USCE because it's better. Now guys, do not forget to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps out a lot, and please leave me a comment if you have any questions. And guys, thank you for watching the video.